It's so wonderful to meet you. Congratulations on Scream 6. I saw it last night and I absolutely loved it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, one of the reasons I think I really liked it comes down to the way that I think this one, even more so than the last, really complicates the final girl trope. You know, in the past, it's always about like this one girl who has just the right characteristics to be, able to survive. But here it's a combination of solidarity. And also, Sam doesn't have to adhere to some sort of morality in order to be deemed worthy of survival. Is that something that stands out to you about the character? And what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, definitely. I think Sydney and Gail were, incredible final girls and are so important. It's so important that they are so good so that Sam doesn't have to be. And I think
Yeah.
that and I think it's beautiful and interesting to watch a character that wants to be good so badly but is wrestling with that darkness and that you don't fully trust because you don't we've seen her snap and we know that it can happen at any moment. And I personally love playing into that mystery and playing into, those moments of like, what is she thinking? Like, why is she quiet? Is she ghost face? Like all of those things I love. It just adds an extra layer when I'm acting that make it interesting for me. Um, and I do love that Sam is complicated and she's not perfect. And we talk about it in the movie because Scream is Scream, and it's very
Yeah.
self-aware and we get to see Sam talking through all of this, which is what a lot of the fans are thinking and we're talking about after the last movie. So we get to bring that into the world and make her aware of what everyone is saying. And I just love that it gets to be a full conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do think, you got to introduce the character last time, but now we really get to kind of like sink in and get to know her better. And I found myself very invested in her. And I think some of it is that duality that she does have this darkness. It's very different than every other final girl we've seen before. And also you're so badass in this. You get to do some incredible action sequences in this. There's some amazing set pieces. How was that experience getting to be so action oriented? And was there one in particular that stood out for you?
I love that you bring that up because it did feel like we were shooting an action movie. Like, the movie starts and then it kind of goes from bodega to attack on the street to, the apartment and the stairs, and it just like never lets you go. It like almost doesn't let you breathe. And there's so many like really cool sequences that we got to like run and jump and like fall and like do all these sorts of things that we didn't get to do in the last one that I personally love because I've always wanted to do an action movie and this was a really good taste of that. Um, and I don't know, there were so many incredible moments, but I loved the stairs, the ladder sequence in between the two apartments was really
Yes.
cool. It took us a really long time to shoot that whole sequence. Um, and it was, I think it was the moment during the shoot that we all looked at each other and thought, this is going to be brutal. Like it was during that sequence that we felt like this movie was on another level because
Oof.
it felt like we felt it. I remember we were shooting our coverage and the stunt was on the ladder. It wasn't Devin. It was the stunt that was actually going to fall. And we were shooting and they would be like, "Okay, now grab her hand." And they were yelling at us to do all the things and we were yelling, like constantly yelling. We all lost our voices that day. And they didn't tell us that she was actually going to fall. So
Oh,
all of a sudden,
really?
she falls and my stomach like actually dropped out of my ass. I was it was and I like my and I started sweating and I was like, this is insane. Like I turned to Jasmine and I was like, this is it didn't feel this way in the fifth one. She was like, I know.